The following tale is plucked from the pages of a nameless tome, a manuscript whispered of in hushed tones by those who dare tread too close to the edge of sanity. It is said that merely speaking of the events you are about to hear invites danger beyond reckoning. For these are the deeds and misdeeds of souls whose fates were sealed the moment they crossed into shadowed realms where darkness reigns eternal. Be warned, listener, do not repeat what you hear to others. Do not commit these words to memory, nor linger on the images conjured within your mind. To do so is to risk incurring the wrath of, well, perhaps it is best if I leave the name unspoken. Even now, it claws at the corners of my mind. Know this, should you choose to continue, you do so at your own peril. And remember, you have been warned. This is a tale called The Cost of Betrayal. The afternoon sky was heavy with clouds, swollen and dark. Rain drummed relentlessly against the pavement, casting a melancholic sheen over the city streets. Amidst the drizzle, 3 figures navigated the slippery sidewalks during their lunch break, sharing 2 tiny umbrellas that barely shielded them from the elements. They were co-workers, friends bound not by deep affection but by convenience and routine. Christine, in her early 50s, walked with her shoulders squared, her stride deliberate despite the weather. Once a stunning beauty, age, a nasty pack-a-day smoking habit, and bitterness had carved harsh lines into her face, making her appear severe and unapproachable. Beside her, Emily, a woman in her early 30s, held her phone close, her thumb absent-mindedly brushing across the screen. Today, there was a subtle tension in her posture. Stress from balancing work and single motherhood had taken its toll, the droop of her shoulders betraying a weariness that no amount of makeup could conceal. Walking slightly behind them was Darren. He towered over his companions at 6 feet 4 inches, with a lean yet muscular build. In his mid-30s, Darren had an air of steady confidence. Despite the heavy atmosphere, he listened attentively to Emily's story, a soft chuckle escaping him at the description of her 6-year-old's antics. Christine flicked her smoldering cigarette into a gutter and abruptly halted just as they turned the corner of a narrow alley. Her gaze fixed on something glinting in a puddle of muddy water. "Hold on," she murmured, her voice tinged with curiosity in something darker. Without waiting for a response, she stepped forward and crouched down, her fingers delicately plucking a small, circular object from the filth. "What is it?" Emily asked, peering over Christine's shoulder. The coin's bronze surface shimmered faintly, etched with runes that seemed to shift and change under the light. Its design was intricate, almost hypnotic, drawing the eye in and holding it captive. Christine tilted her head, a slow smile spreading across her lips. "It's a good luck charm, I think," she said, brushing the mud off with a cloth. "Or perhaps, something even more interesting." Emily hesitated. "Christine, I don't think you should." "Why not?" Christine interrupted, her tone light but with an edge. "It's just a little trinket. What harm could it do?" But Darren, who had remained silent until now, took a step closer, his eyes narrowing. "We should leave it alone. There's something wrong about it." Christine glanced up at him, a flash of annoyance crossing her features. "You're being ridiculous. It's just a coin." In that instant, the coin began to glow. A pale, sickly light emanated from its surface, casting eerie reflections on their faces. Darren felt his stomach lurch as if falling off a cliff, and he reached out instinctively, too late. The world around them twisted and warped, the colors bleeding together until an inky darkness swallowed everything. There was a gut-wrenching sensation of being pulled, stretched, and then they landed heavily, the force of the impact driving the breath from their lungs. Darren was the first to push himself up, his limbs trembling as he took in their surroundings. Towering trees loomed above them, their gnarled branches twisted into grotesque shapes. A thick, choking fog coiled around their ankles, swallowing the distant sounds of rustling leaves and snapping twigs. Emily groaned softly. Where are we?" Christine remained silent, her eyes wide and gleaming in the dim light. Slowly, she straightened and looked around, a strange smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "I think," she murmured, "we're exactly where we're supposed to be." Emily's gaze snapped to Christine. "What are you talking about? We need to get out of here." But Christine shook her head slowly, her smile widening. "No, this is where we were meant to come." Before Darren could respond, a voice slithered through the fog, low and melodic, dripping with malice. "Welcome, little mortals. I have been waiting for you." Darren whirled around, searching for the source of the voice, but the fog only thickened, wrapping around them like a physical presence. "Come to me, there is no escape. I am the mistress of this realm, and you are mine." Her laughter echoed through the forest, chilling Darren's spine. "We stick together," Darren insisted, his voice firm despite the fear gnawing at his resolve. But Christine only shook her head again. "No, Darren, we won't." And before he could react, a massive, decaying mansion loomed out of the fog. Its windows glowed faintly with an eerie, greenish light, and its walls seemed to pulse as if the structure itself was breathing. The mansion's front door creaked open on its own as if beckoning them to enter. A cold draft swept out, carrying with it the faint, acrid scent of decay. The walls inside were lined with faded tapestries, and cobwebs draped like gossamer curtains across doorways and banisters. "Stay close," Darren murmured, his voice low and tense. He shot a wary glance at Christine, who moved ahead of them with a disturbingly calm demeanor. Christine didn't respond. She ran her fingers along the banister of the grand staircase that curved upward. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she mused softly, more to herself than to her companions. There was a distant, almost dreamy quality to her tone. Emily shivered and moved closer to Darren. "This place, it feels alive." Before Darren could reply, the voice from the forest whispered again. "Ah, you've come inside, good. Now, the game begins." Darren's muscles tensed. "Who are you? What do you want with us?" "What I want is simple, brave one. I want your fear. I want your suffering. I want your despair." Emily's grip on Darren's arm tightened. "We need to get out of here." But Christine shook her head. "No. We're here for a reason. There's no escape." She turned and began to ascend the staircase. "Christine, stop." Darren called out. "What the hell are you talking about?" He froze as Christine glanced back, her eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. "I'm not going anywhere, Darren. I'm going to see this through to the end. Because," Christine whispered, holding up the bronze coin, "I want what I deserve. Power. Influence. And this coin, it's going to give it to me." Darren's chest tightened. "Christine, that thing is cursed. It's not going to help you, it's going to destroy you." For a moment, Christine's smile faltered. But then she turned away and continued up the stairs. "You're wrong, Darren. I've given up too much to let it slip away now." Darren took a step forward, but a sudden, crushing pressure wrapped around his chest, forcing him to his knees. Emily cried out and tried to help him, but the same invisible force yanked her backward, slamming her into the wall. The shadows in the room coalesced, forming a vaguely humanoid shape. A figure draped in tattered robes hovered above them. "Leave her be," the figure hissed. "She has chosen her path, but you, little mortals, still have a chance to escape. Do you not value your lives?" Darren gritted his teeth, fighting against the crushing weight. "Christine, please, don't do this." But Christine didn't look back. She vanished up the staircase. "Such foolish loyalty," the figure murmured. "But that is your downfall." The pressure around Darren's chest lifted, and he collapsed to the ground. "What do we do?" Emily whispered frantically. "We can't just leave her. The figure laughed, a low, malevolent sound. Follow her, but be warned, your loyalty will be your undoing. The mansion's upper floors were a labyrinth of twisting corridors. Darren led the way, his eyes scanning every shadow for signs of Christine. They reached the end of a long hallway, where a set of double doors stood slightly ajar. He pushed the doors open and froze. Christine stood in the center of the room, her back to them. In front of her, an enormous creature loomed, its body a mass of bulging muscles and spines, its eyes burning like coals. "Christine, get away from it!" Darren shouted. But Christine didn't move. Instead, she turned to face him, a look of utter calm on her face. "No, Darren," she said softly. "This is what I wanted." The creature rumbled, placing one massive hand on Christine's shoulder. Darren's heart pounded wildly. "That thing is going to kill you." Christine shook her head slowly. "No, Darren. It's going to give me everything I asked for. Power, influence, control over my own fate." The creature rumbled again, and Christine's smile widened. "And all it costs is a little sacrifice." Before Darren could react, the creature's massive arm swung out, striking him with the force of a sledgehammer. He flew across the room, slamming into the far wall. Pain exploded through his ribs. "Darren!" Emily screamed, rushing to his side. Christine stepped closer, her eyes cold and distant. "I'm sorry, Darren. But I'm not going back." She turned to the creature and nodded. "Take them." The creature's eyes gleamed with malicious delight as it advanced on them. The chamber crackled with energy. Christine's figure was twisted by the malevolent energy coursing through her veins. "Christine, you have to stop this," Emily pleaded. "Please, think of what you're doing." Christine's gaze shifted to Emily, her lips curling into a cold smile. "Think? That's what I've always done, Emily. I thought and planned and hoped, but where did that ever get me?" Emily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "But this isn't you. You're better than this." Christine let out a low, humorless laugh. "Better? Don't kid yourself." She pointed at Emily. "Creature, kill her." Christine's command rang out like a death knell, and the shadowy creature lurking in the corner of the chamber surged forward, grabbing Emily by the throat and lifting her off the ground. "Christine, no!" Emily cried out, but there was no mercy in Christine's gaze. "Friend? What does friendship matter in the face of power? I've spent my whole life sacrificing for others. No more." The creature's claws tightened, and Emily's body went limp. Darren stared, numb with shock. Rage, grief, and guilt twisted together in a violent storm. "Why?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "She was your friend." Christine shrugged. "She was weak. Just like I was." The witch's voice drifted through the air. "Yes, my little mortal. You are no longer weak, no longer helpless. End the last of your ties to the mortal world. Kill him." Christine's gaze met Darren's, and for a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of remorse. But then, "I'm sorry, Darren," she murmured, raising her hand. The ground beneath them shuddered, and the shadows recoiled. "What's happening?" Christine gasped. The witch's expression hardened. "No, the bond, it's unraveling." Darren watched, his heart pounding as Christine struggled against the magic that surged around her. "Christine, fight it!" Darren shouted. "You don't have to do this, just let go." Christine's gaze met his, and for the briefest of moments, he saw something break in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. With a blinding flash of light, Christine was left kneeling in the center of the chamber, gasping for breath. "You are not yet bound, little mortal. But you will be." The shadows surged forward, wrapping around Christine's arms and legs like chains. "Stop!" Christine shrieked. "No! I did everything you asked. Yet, you still have a heart. A weakness." Christine's scream reverberated through the chamber as the darkness closed in. Darren's body jolted as he awoke, gasping for air. He was lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by the cold, clinical scent of antiseptic and the faint hum of medical equipment. "Christine," he whispered hoarsely. The memories surged back, Emily's lifeless body, Christine's eyes alight with madness. Tears burned at the corners of his eyes, guilt and anguish tearing at his soul. The nurse entered. "You were found outside the hospital, unconscious. You were alone." "Alone." "She's gone," he breathed. "Emily's gone." Christine had killed Emily. And Christine herself, taken by the very thing she thought would save her. But he would find her again. And when he did, he would make her pay for what she had done. Deep within the shadowed halls of the mansion, the witch watched the flickering image of Christine, now a broken, hollow creature, her eyes wide with terror as she hung suspended in a cocoon of darkness. "Poor little mortal," the witch murmured. "You wanted power, and now you have it." Christine's eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, a spark of something flickered. "Darren, help me." The witch leaned closer. "He can't hear you, little one. He's gone. And you are mine." Christine's gaze darted around the chamber, panic and despair mingling in her expression. The witch's smile widened. "Yes, he will return. He will find his way back, if only to see you suffer." Christine's body shuddered. "No. Darren, please." The witch's laughter echoed through the chamber. "I'll let you see him again, one day. But not yet. First, you will learn what it means to be truly powerless." And then, the darkness closed in. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this tale. I hope you enjoyed the story and felt immersed in this world of fantasy and adventure. If you'd like to hear more epic stories like this, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next chapter in our journey. See you in the next adventure.